What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be going over every site setup on NightHaven Labs so that you can play the best setups to win more games and rank up fast. So we're going to go straight into it. We're going to start on the top floor. First thing you want to do, obviously, you want to reinforce the IT walls because this is a very high traffic part of the map that's very crucial for the attackers to take control of, so you want to make that as difficult as possible. Get a bandit, Cade, Tubra, whatever on this wall. A lot of teams in higher elo will try to go below and Ash, Zofia, Buck any bandits off of here. So what you can do is, if you're the person playing there, you can make the holes here, and then once you hear them you can contest them, trying to keep them away from there. Works very well. And then we're gonna come over to this side of the map. You want to reinforce this wall and have a rotate, and the reason you want to reinforce this wall and not this wall is because if the attackers push up the meeting hall, they can sit here where they're really safe, they're not exposed to any angles, and they can just see like really deep into sight and get some free kills. So you don't want to give them that option. And then you want this kind of head hole rotate here, so you can rotate in and out. You know, your connector player can fall back to sight, anything like that. Then same as the IT walls, I want to reinforce these because again, it's a very crucial spot for the attackers to take control of. So if you can make that as difficult as possible, you're going to have a much better chance of winning the round. And then you can put head holes or feet holes here. It doesn't really matter, but the reason you do that, obviously, is to stop them from being able to freely jump into this window. And then, of course, early round, you could play up here, shooting drones and stuff as well. Then, if we want to fall back to the other side of the map, what we want to do here is reinforce these two walls, and you want to have a rotate here because first of all, you're going to have somebody in higher elo. You're going to have somebody probably like an Azami or a Clash playing rafters, and obviously you don't want them to get just fucking pinched here and die. So this is a quick escape for them, and this is just for added safety from different angles and things. And this also allows you to easily contest this door right here. Then you want to reinforce this wall and put head holes here. A lot of teams in rank, they will do this in the reverse order, but the reason that you want to do it this way is because let's say that Azami playing rafters rotates back. If they manage to get control of electrical, they can fully see the rotate, and obviously that's just terrible. They're going to get free picks off of that. This makes them have to swing a little bit more, and it makes this whole sort of section here a lot safer to play. And additionally, if you decide to flip this around and this wall's soft and that wall's soft, that means they can see all the way from this hallway into rafters, and obviously that's just terrible, especially with defenders losing a lot of their ACOGs now. So you want to reinforce this side and have head holes on this side so that you can play behind these two walls and you can still contest electrical. Then you want to come up here, this wall reinforced, same sort of idea, those two walls protect you, and then this one gives you all of this space to play. And then you want feet holes so you can set up a crossfire. You can play here if anybody comes up on the door, and then somebody will be here contesting or close on the door, so you can get some really nice crossfires, easy kills off of that, which is obviously really good, especially if you're playing in a stack. I know a lot of you won't be, but for those of you who are, you can easily set up crossfires with that. And you also want this one to be reinforced so that you can have like a warden or Clash or something contesting this early, and they can't get shot from any of these angles. Also, I forgot to mention that you want to reinforce this wall as well, because another reason is if they manage to get control of IT, obviously attackers with their ACOGs, they'll be able to see through there and get lines of sight into the bomb site that you just really don't want them having, because it's really powerful, especially with this little head glitch right here that they can do. So please reinforce this wall and not this one. But that's basically it for the top floor site. So we're gonna get right into the bottom site now. So we're down in the basement. First thing you're gonna want to do is, of course, reinforce the breach. Very self-explanatory. You don't want the attackers getting direct access to the site and smoking off your angles and getting a plant down. Very simple stuff. Then right here, you want to reinforce this side, and you want to make that same sort of head hole rotate here on this side. And the reason for it being on this side is a very default take for the attackers to do is push down EXO and try and go for a plant here. And if you have the rotate on this side, you can be here and you can get a C4 or a smoke or something like that while they plant, and that will kill them whilst they try to plant. So that's quite handy to have there. Similarly, another pretty common plant spot is right here. So you want to make these holes here. I need to make that a little bit bigger. But you want that there so that you can C4 or smoke onto anybody. Ignore that. Onto anybody planting over there. Then we're going to come over to Animus. You want to reinforce this wall. Same goes. Very common spot for the attackers to push. You want to make it as difficult as possible. And then reinforce the hatch, because obviously you don't want somebody just shooting it open with a DMR or a shotgun. If they're going to get it open, they may as well waste some utility. Now, when we come into here, this wall, there are a few different ways to do it, but in my opinion, the best way to do it is to have feet holes here. And the reason for that is because you can play here in this hall, and that's another reason why we reinforce this wall, so that we're safe to play these angles. And then you can actually prone, and you can get one way onto any attackers pushing down those vending stairs into EXO. Of course, this is going to be dependent on if there's anybody pushing behind, but you're probably going to have another player watching that area, so you will more than likely know if there is anybody there. And then these feet holes, late in the round, you can contest from here. Kind of acts as a little bit of ghost pressure if there's no one there as well. Makes the attackers have to be a lot more cautious when they're pushing down those stairs there. This wall, most of the time it's reinforced. You don't have to reinforce it. It's not like a crucial wall. But as you can see at the top, we do have one wall left over that most of the time will probably go to this right-hand wall. And the reason, well, another reason that I think feet holes are better than head holes here is because if the attackers push down these stairs and then they can play pillar and they have these head holes, they get a lot of lines into sight with their very, very strong guns with ACOGs. So I think feet holes are just a little bit better, but I mean, if you can hold it down, then head holes work as well. They will suffice. Then we want to reinforce this wall. Again, just gives us a little bit more space to actually play. And then we want head holes here so that we can contest this common plant spot here, and also anybody trying to get there from the window. I'm pretty sure you could also throw a very nice C4 to kill anybody planting there. So that is real handy. Then this one is the one that I see done wrong the most. A lot of people like to reinforce this wall and put feet holes here, but just imagine this from an attacker's perspective. They can just push down. They have no one holding them in this sort of area, and then they can just run past the feet holes like really quickly. Especially with 3 speeds like Ash, you probably won't even have a chance to get a shot off before they are behind here and safe. So head holes we can contest from over here on this side, and then you put head holes here. You can also contest into cargo from the safety of this site, which often they won't be expecting quite as much. Then you're going to reinforce this hatch so that any barbed wire or anything on these stairs actually works and they don't just DMR the hatch open. We already went over these feet holes, and then by having that hatch reinforced, that also gives you a chance to play somebody with a shotgun, warden, smoke, mute, anybody like that here with the shotgun. It's a very strong position to be able to hold, and then you can obviously easily pull back and you're not going to get cut off from this angle here. And I think that is just about everything. The only other thing that I can think of is for this, if you have Mira on the board, which I know a lot of times in ranked you don't, but on the odd occasion that you do, a Mira can go here and play in cargo, and then that's another way that you can contest this default plant right there. One thing I think I did forget is these feet holes. That's again just kind of a bit of pressure. You can contest from here if anybody walks in. It's just to kind of scare them off a little bit and make it more difficult for them to actually push into Animus. So that is the basement site done, and now we're gonna go over to kitchen. So now that we've come down to the kitchen, this is one of the sites that at a low level and even at some of the higher levels, you might not understand why things are done, so I'm going to explain, but it might seem a little bit confusing at first, so just take notes on this one, because this one is very, very different to how you probably play it right now. So, you want to reinforce these walls right here, obviously, main breach, stop the attackers getting into sight from out there. Pretty self-explanatory. You could, if you want to extend into lobby, you could put a rotate here and play in there. That could 100% work, but if you do that, then you want to flip this around. But for the most part, you'll have both of them reinforced, and then you want to reinforce this wall so that you can play this power position without getting seen up on the window. Same with this one, protects you from there, and then head holes so you can contest this or anything like that. Then this is the part that's probably gonna not make a lot of sense, so bear with me here. You want to put head holes across this wall and the games wall, and the reason being for this is because in this strategy you're gonna be playing in lounge and also in 90. So when you're playing in 90, you're obviously defending this part so the attackers don't have this whole hallway, because a lot of the times in ranked we reinforce everything off, you don't have anyone playing here, and attackers can have this whole hallway to work with, and they can just put a lot of pressure on this position at the back, and even people playing over in the kitchen. So it's a little bit more aggressive, but if you can play it properly, it 100% works. And then these head holes here with that one, if they get the breach open, it gives them a really long angle that they have to worry about somebody being in here, regardless of if there's anyone in here or not. You could be sitting on 90 and then they have the breach open and they're constantly checking this, so it also works as a good bit of ghost pressure. And then because this is a good spot to be playing, we want to keep it locked down, you're also going to want to reinforce this wall. I just didn't do that before I started recording, but you should reinforce that wall. Then if we come to vending, you're probably going to have somebody playing here, and then the best way to keep control of kitchen is by playing here and putting sort of feet holes, knee holes across this wall, so anybody dropping the hatch, they can get a shotgun to the face. And then also you can hold an angle here so it's not directly looking outside the window, so you can't really get challenged off of that, but as soon as they jump in, they can just get fried and they'll have no idea how they've just died. And then this is another way that this could definitely confuse some of the lower ranks especially, but a lot of this site in professional play specifically is played upstairs. So upstairs you're gonna have probably two people holding this. You're gonna have one here, reinforce these walls so that they can't be seen from the window or anybody who decides to jump in that room, and then you can contest this from here, and it's pretty difficult. If you know how to play this properly, it's pretty difficult to actually push you out of this position. So if you can lock it down it is one of the most powerful positions to play on this whole site. And then you can also hold down this. There will probably be another person doing this. You want to put head holes, so if anybody does jump into there, same as when we're defending top floor, just stops them from doing that. Then you want to reinforce these walls and both of these walls, and that's because a lot of your playing is going to be in here. So basically what this does is it forces the attackers to either waste utility to open these walls or push you from here, which is a lot easier for you to contest. So that's why you want to have these reinforced. And then also playing up here, there's a lot you can do with vert, for example, because right here you can catch anybody jumping in that window there. You can also move vert here. You can see anybody on the doorway. There's just a lot of things you can do. So if you learn that and get that down, then it's going to be infinitely more difficult for the attackers to actually win on kitchen. So that's the setup for kitchen, and now we're going to head over to the last site for you guys to learn. Now that we're in control room and storage, I left this one for last because this is the one that gets picked the least, so I feel like a lot of people are gonna not know how to play this one nearly as well as any of the other three. And it is a little bit confusing because it's another one of those ones where a lot of the play happens above the site, but let's just go for the setup first. So you want to have a rotate here so that you can contest this window, anybody coming up the stairs, and then particularly in the late round, if there's anybody pushing down these CC stairs, as they're coming down, they're exposed to games, anybody playing 90, and this just adds another angle that they need to worry about being exposed to. So it's really good for applying pressure to the attack later in the round. So it's a really good rotate to have there. And then you want to rotate here, obviously just to get between sites. That's pretty basic stuff. And then you want to put head holes here, because if you have anybody playing in here and they go for a plant there, you can use this to C4 or smoke or anything like that over there. And alternatively, if they go for a plant in here and you have a player in here, they can use the head holes here to get a smoke or a C4 into anybody planting pillar. And then you're probably going to have somebody playing in games, and you want head holes here so that you can, again, C4 or anything over there to kill anybody on the pillar plant. And that's actually, well, no, not quite. You want to reinforce these walls so that they don't get easy control of warehouse. Now, that is all the setup that you need to do for the actual site. The rest of it is played upstairs, and most of it upstairs is the same as when we're actually defending the upstairs site, but there is one little difference. So you want to keep this the same, have the rotate, keep this reinforced so you're not exposed to there, and so that they can't get any angles from IT if they manage to take it. Try to stop them from taking it by reinforcing these walls, and it works even better on this site, having these holes here to contest the window while they're not trying to get this wall, but they probably will try to take it to play vert. Same with this head holes, same as before. This is the same as before. Feet holes, this protects the person playing there. You can play here and set up a crossfire on the feet holes with anybody here. Same as before. The only thing that's different is you want to double reinforce this, because it gives them very limited ways to get into the top floor site, which is probably just going to be this door, unless they want to waste utility pushing into here. But that is all of the setups. You can try these in your next ranked game, and I hope this helps. Please like and subscribe if it did, and if you want to see more videos like this, I've got a lot more coming soon, so be sure to turn on the notifications, and that's it.